Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Monday musical meditation here on KJ Olson Music. I, of course, am KJ Olson, and today we are exploring one of the pieces off of my newest album, only album, and full-length album. Well, this is something new, which was an exploration of self and a way for me to come to terms with certain things that have been going on in my life and move forward and start creating new things. And currently, I'm in the process of turning that musical exploration into a stage musical, which I will have more details coming up in the future. So today I wanted to jump into a piece that is very near and dear to me off the album. It was a piece that sort of started as a slower, intimate ukulele ballad and kind of grew into something more. It became more of a dance pop piece that I really started to have a lot of fun with, and I spent a lot of time really nitpicking how I wanted it to sound, and it took a very long time, much longer than I had intended. And for starters, it had started off as this kind of slow and sort of grew into this more like and as I created it more and as I went through more of the process of figuring out what did I want this piece to be, it started to become more of a poppy dance hit, and I started realizing I needed more instruments. The ukulele wasn't going to be enough to carry it the way I wanted it to be. But today I wanted to focus on the way that it originally was, and how it kind of started off as this introspective ballad about some of the things that I went through. As some of you may know, I was married before. I actually went through a pretty difficult and at times vicious divorce that really set my entire life back, and I may make a video that details more of what happened during that at a later time, but today I kind of wanted to focus on how this song helped me come to terms with a few of those elements, including the fact that I had to leave the life I had started building in Washington, D.C. behind and restart my entire life in my mid to late 20s. All of the things that I had spent 6-7 years building up were kind of left in ruins, and I was financially destroyed and really had to spend a lot of time and energy rebuilding my entire life. And that's what this piece was about, was coming to terms with that. And if I had a chance to go back and talk to who I was at 25, 26, and all of the things that I went through and kind of help who I was then through that, these are some of the things that I would tell myself at that time. And like I said, this piece means a lot to me for that reason, and I wanted to share that in its sort of original form, as sort of an up-tempo version of the ukulele piece that I originally wrote for it. And without further ado, let's get on to Ode to My Former Self off of my album, Well, This Is Something New. I hope you enjoy. This is an ode to my former self. I can't believe how much you've managed to get through. This is an ode to my former self, and no matter how bad the treatment, you would never be defeated. This is an ode to my former self. There's just so much that I wish you knew. You've got so much ahead of you. wanted to be. And you learn the hard way that what you want is never a guarantee. You kept trying and learning and fighting, and then you paid for somebody else's crimes against you. We all need some help sometimes. And this is an ode to my former self. I can't believe how much you've managed to get through. This is an ode to my former self, and no matter how bad the treatment, you would never be defeated. This is an ode to my former self. There's just so much that I wish you knew. You've got so much ahead of you. And one day you'll know that it's true. One broken heart and an empty bank account later, you came home and did what you could to stave off that aching pang of total abject failure. You kept moving, starting over again, a walking, talking cry for help. Destination therapy was never gonna work, 'cause you can't run away from yourself. We all need some help sometimes. This is an ode to my former self. I can't believe how much you've managed to get through. This is an ode to my former self, and no matter how bad the treatment, you would never be defeated. This is an ode to my former self. There's just so much that I wish you knew. You've got so much ahead of you. And one day you'll know that it's true. It's hard right now, but let the record show what's waiting on the other side. You'll get the chance to run a theater at a summer camp, and you'll finally go back to school. You'll work in restaurants and cafes too, and you'll learn that teaching preschool is not for you. You'll settle down, become a teaching artist, and even meet somebody new. You'll become so much you never knew you could be. This is an ode to my former self. I can't believe how much you've managed to get through. This is an ode to my former self, and no matter how bad the treatment, you would never be defeated. This is an ode to my former self. There's just so much that I wish you knew. You've got so much ahead of you. And one day you'll know that it's true. This is an ode to my former self. And one day you'll know that it's true. This is an ode to my former self. 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 And one day you'll know that it's true. This is an ode to my former self. I can't believe how much you've managed to get through. And this is an ode to my former self. And no matter how bad the treatment, you would never be defeated. This is an ode to my former self. There's just so much that I wish you knew.